What is Polybius? Demonic
There was no
game.
accident either.
Them demons.
They're
See
sequestered
Poly
in
on my
some
BS.
warehouse.
Is
1994.
Polybius real?
Consume.
Obey.
Submit.
Submit.
It's like some-
It's not
everything
real.
pointed to
I'm
Canada to
gonna
discern an origin.
Polybus. Ah! Oh my
There is a
god.
video game
Jump
that doesn't
scared
exist.
me.
It's a myth.
Okay,
an urban
how's the
legend,
audio?
A hoax. It's called Polybius.
Polybius.
And you might have heard of it.
No, I haven't heard of it. Maybe it's because I'm young.
Let me take you back to 1981. Back when arcade games were at their peak.
Ooh.
A multi-billion-dollar industry and a fever that had a grip on pop culture.
I actually have a Galaga
Video arcades were a new social nexus
arcade.
sprung up
I don't know
everywhere.
what you call it. It's like the box.
dimly lit
Like
by
this!
neon light,
I have a Galaga
adorned
one.
with garish carpet. They played host both to crowds of teenagers and cabinet after cabinet of the
Cabinet,
hottest games of the era. Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Galaga. However, in an unnamed arcade in some sleepy suburb of Portland, there lurked something more obscure.
Polybius.
A limited release of a game that would evaporate as silently as it appeared.
Ooh.
The stories are vague. The cabinet
The
is
art for
described
this
as
is
plain,
amazing.
and the gameplay? Weird looking, abstract,
Howdy, Crappy.
fast action with
Ada?
puzzle elements.
Player, howdy. Cho,
Sometimes
howdy.
it's described as being particularly addictive, despite the unassuming appearance. The only concrete details are the name,
Pleasure.
year of release, and the company behind it. Polybius, 1981, Zinnis Lotion. Really? It was
Is that
just
a
like any other
German
arcade machine,
name?
except for the side effects.
Oh,
Reports of sickness, amnesia, night terrors, and behavioral changes followed those who played it.
demonic
There was no
game.
accident either, if you believe the rumors.
Them demons.
Instead, a secret project by government agency, developed from military tech for the CIA or some other men in black.
Yeah, but why is it
The
accessible
machines were
if it's
observed,
that?
gameplay records were taken, and then, after a month or so, they disappeared without notice, along with any shred of evidence.
Okay, interesting.
To this day, no authentic cabinets, boards, or dumped ROMs have surfaced,
What if it
but
eats
there
people?
are some who claim to hold them. Quite the yarn. But could there be any merit to this myth, or even a basis in truth?
There's probably
It's
some
probably
truth
safe
to
to
it.
assume that the story has been subject to quite some embellishment. The accounts are full of conjecture and weasel words, supposedly, according to, etc.
Hmm.
One thing remains consistent across all the stories, and
Go
that's
drink
the
some
name,
water, or I'll fucking end you.
Polybius.
Polybius.
Why Polybius? It's not novel, it belongs to a Greek of some repute, a prominent historian born in Megalopolis, Arcadia.
Kind of sounds like
This could be
Polyphemus, which is the giant in the Odyssey. Or, I don't know, maybe the Odyssey. Yeah, I'm watching the Polybius thing.
a deliberate choice to muddy search queries about the game, or perhaps it was chosen on its own merits. Polybius covered the Romans' rise to power in detail, an important primary source and an early example of rigor in historiography. He also lends his name to a simple cipher, the Polybius square, in which letters are substituted by their coordinates on a grid. Altogether, this doesn't tell us much, although the meaning of the name is interesting. The poly prefix means many, and bios, life. Many lives from Arcadia. Convenient. It could be a coincidence, but we can assume whoever named the game has at least some knowledge of either history or cryptography. Real or not, the name was chosen. Another word consistent to the myth is the
What if it's a glitch in the Matrix? Okay, that's all I have to comment.
I was a developer or publisher. Sinneslotion. It's a German word. Almost. A not quite grammatical combination
I knew
of
it was
Sinne,
German.
meaning sense, and Lotion, meaning to erase. To erase senses. To become senseless. It seems to allude to the mythical side effects of Polybius, which implies a deliberate choice. It's almost certainly not a real company, as there are no other games attributed to them,
Sigma.
nor any trace of company records.
There's a couple
So Polybius
Sigmas.
could be of German origin, but the incorrect grammar might also indicate the use
Oh
of...
wow, look at this. The UI web design. Wow. Amazing. So beautiful.
machine translation, something chosen by a non-native speaker to sound
Why don't websites look like that anymore?
suitably obscure or sinister. There isn't much visual evidence for the game, and most can be discounted as fake. But there is one screenshot that is consistently upheld as canon.
Show!
It's rather basic.
Oh.
A black background with a Polybius logo, copyright information, and credits. And nothing else. However, compared to contemporary games from 1981, one thing
JPEG.
stands out.
Who is Jay and why do they want to be pegged?
The logo is unusually large and detailed. Back then, fancy graphics were confined to the printed marquees. Every kilobyte of the ROM was valuable, so most game titles were rendered in the standard font, or at a much smaller scale. This did change over the next few years, and by 1983, larger, more lavishly designed title screens were more common.
Ooh.
The closest match in terms of style might be from Nintendo. Their games favor
Mario
large, bold
Bros.
titles with similar lettering. Perhaps Polybius drew inspiration from Versus Pinball or Duck Hunt. Of course, both of these date to 1984, which makes Polybius's 1981 claimed year of release look spurious. Perhaps it was just ahead of its time.
I was gonna say
Another detail from the
1981 is
screenshot
very
is the
early.
font used for the smaller text. Those with a keen eye might recognize a similarity to those
My
used by
eyes.
Williams games, such as Defender or Robotron. And it's
So much
definitely a close
rainbow.
match, but they're not identical. The smallest 5-pixel high text does match Robotron, but the larger 7-pixel text does not.
Doesn't match.
There is one game that comes closer. Nearly a perfect match. And while
this
still
is
a Williams
cute.
title, it's the much less well-known Bubbles.
Bubbles. I've never
It's
seen
still
this
not
one.
a pixel-perfect fit, but it is closer than
Yeah,
any other.
That is
The
very
minor differences
close.
could be attributed to font hinting, JPEG artifaction, or perhaps a deliberate alteration. In any case, the text is distinctly Williams. Either Polybius is some lost prototype, or the image was fabricated by someone who drew influence from their games.
Bubbles.
The screenshot has been around for almost as long as the myth, and is likely the original source for the turquoise bubble-lettered logo. It doesn't exactly give us much to go on, and it certainly doesn't reveal what the gameplay might have been like.
Someone should make a Polybius game. Like what they think it would be like if you were to play it. That would be a really good horror game.
There are some that claim to reveal more of Polybius, such as these vector-esque images distributed on the now-defunct polybiuslives.com. First emerging around April in 2008, there's little supporting evidence for their veracity. All signs point to a fan-made creation.
Should we try out different retro games? Like really old games, if that's even possible, and play them? I thought Oregon Trail was fun. Like whenever I played it earlier this week or last week, it was amazing. That was a lot of fun. Anyways.
Besides, it doesn't make sense. If you had the ROMs and were able to take screenshots of a functioning game, why not show it in motion? To see the game running
True.
would be a revelation. There have been multiple people who
Oh, look at this design. Oh my. Hey, at least we can read the text. That's the most important part.
claim to hold the Polybius ROMs, and yet there's no sign of them anywhere. However, there is no shortage of gameplay footage
Oh my
out there.
eyes, why are you using light mode? Turn it to dark mode,
They're all
please.
fan-made interpretations, impressions of what Polybius may have been like.
My eyes.
One of the first emerged around April 2004,
Better.
distributed by a site called gooddealgames.com, the original source unknown. With a
Melting.
spooky icon, it's clearly supposed to evoke the myth. And those who are brave enough to run it are given a warning. The Polybius video game has been linked to impaired memory and psychological changes.
Woo.
Gameplay may cause epileptic seizures in susceptible individuals.
Oh wait, is he
Do
playing
you
the
still
game?
want to continue?
Yes, yes.
Click OK, and you'll be met with the familiar title screen.
Why is it flashing my
Formatted for a 4:3
eyes?
monitor, with the logo rapidly flashing while a sound effect plays.
My goodness.
A sequence of
Epilepsy
rising tones.
warning, y'all. I don't trust this game.
The flashing continues until you press a key. And then...
Oh.
Nothing.
Nothing.
The
What?
game exits with a fatal error, and a message box that reads, April Fools.
Oh
Send this
man.
urban legend to a friend.
There has to be someone who creates this
Interestingly
game,
enough,
right?
if you take the executable into a hex editor, you'll find the 2 megabyte file is not quite what it seems.
Oh.
The first 10 kilobytes consist of some data, but the rest? Empty space, acres of zeros, terminated with a few bytes of text.
April Fool.
April Fools. So we can write that one off as an obvious joke. But there is another game that has become the dominant example when searching for Polybius gameplay. It came from a site at Zinislotion.com, the supposed developers of the original. But the site explains that it's just a fan-made attempt to recreate what might have been.
So can you play it?
Launch the executable and you're presented
Yes!
with the obligatory warning screens. Do not play this game, etc. And ominous mentions of cognitive interfaces and higher functions. A familiar logo appears, but this is no mere prank. There's an actual game amidst all the spooky theatrics.
Why does
The gameplay
Polybius
is
like to
admittedly
flash?
simple, giving you control of a ship that can move in,
Whoa.
out, or rotate the playfield. Like the original legend insists, there's more to the game than simple shooting. Glowing shapes bearing numbers appear, and if these numbers match either digit appearing on the base, or are evenly divisible, then you'll reduce the base's number by that amount.
I probably hate this
Once the
game.
base reaches 0, you advance on to the next level, where the visuals get progressively
Ugh,
trippy.
so bright.
Aside from the puzzle element, the gameplay resembles vector games like Tempest or Star Castle, although some
Ooh, this one's
aspects are
cool.
inconsistent with vector graphics, such as the swirling backgrounds.
I like
Entering
the
the code
noises.
35, 34, 31, 54, 12, 24, 45, 43,
This
the code that
Polybius
corresponds to
cipher.
Polybius on a Polybius square, grants access to the higher game functions.
Wow,
There's a host of extra settings here,
that's so cool.
some relating to auditory entrainment, subliminals, and color strobe, which disable some elements of the game.
Are we gonna get
Others are more
flashed
fanciful,
again?
however. REM imprinting, gameplay amnesia, operant paradigm triggers. Countless settings designed to inspire the right level of paranoia. Cracking open the executable's resources reveals the game was made in Dark Basic, a game
Dark
creation
Basic.
tool. Using a more specialized tool called Dark Explorer, we can reveal all of the game's assets, graphics, sound effects, etc. All of these subliminal aspects are laid bare. A variety of messages written in dark grey flashed briefly during gameplay.
Stay
Obey,
asleep.
consume,
Obey?
submit.
Submit!
It's like something straight out of They Live.
Whoa.
The sound effects are similar. Most are synthetic tones, but some feature voice recordings and sounds of breathing. Presumably, these are part of a barely audible level.
Why don't you play?
Altogether, a
I don't
pretty
know
neat
why I
package
thought
for
that
those
was
who
so
want to
funny.
build their own Polybius cabinet. But who's behind it? The credits hidden in the higher functions menu.
This
give
would,
us some
hold on,
insight.
this would be awesome.
Igor Uspany's
Imagine playing this when you've just eaten a mushroom or taken some Lucy in the Sky with diamonds or just smoked some weed. Not that I do that stuff. I don't want to waste my money on that, to be honest.
and a mysterious number sequence. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. The numbers should be familiar if you've ever watched Lost. And it turns out the name is equally cryptic. It's an anagram of Rogue Synapse.
Rogue Synapse. How do you figure that out?
The Whois data for zenithlotion.com lists an email from the domain gorkaweb.com,
Lotion.com.
links to
Yeah.
roguesynapse.com.
You can give a follow, Tristan.
It's the site of an arcade enthusiast with a particular passion for recreating fictional arcade games, such as Space Paranoids seen in Tron, or the eponymous cabinet from The Last Starfighter.
Okay, this website looks better.
It's a fantastic
Ooh.
fan-made project, but as far as the Polybius myth is concerned,
Oh, it's photoshopped
just a
on,
tribute.
right? Oh man, I thought they
with the
found
explosion
it.
of indie developers over the last decade, there
Ooh,
have
I
been
like
quite
this
a few other
one.
interpretations made, both for desktop and mobile. There was even a version made for the Atari 2600, with very
Ooh.
limited distribution at the Retro Gaming Expo 2013. Few of these later examples make any claims of authenticity, and they generally follow a simple shoot-'em-up formula. One particularly recent game that bears the Polybius name is Jeff Minter's version for PSVR. Minter is a veteran game dev long noted for his unusual
Ooh.
games and light synths. Since 1981, he's been responsible for a steady stream of psychedelic experiences.
I knew it!
Polybius stays true to the Minter mold. And
I
with the
knew it.
rapidly strobing colours and
Holy
breakneck pace of gameplay, you can see
color
why the game
gorilla.
has pretty strong warnings before you start.
Oh, my eyes!
Its pulsating visuals and trance soundtrack
My
mesh together
goodness,
to
I
keep you in the
love
zone.
Rainbow Slapper.
But its intentions are benevolent, with subliminal messages reminding players of the virtues of a
Cow!
nice cup of tea.
Cow!
It's good, but it's Polybius in name only. An homage to a legend.
Wait, are we still in the amnesia category? Oh, okay, hold on.
I certainly
My
think
bad,
there's
y'all.
some truth to Polybius. Lots of random arcades have been used as test beds for legendary unreleased arcade games, such as Marble Madness 2 and Primal Rage 2. And several other unreleased games have also been spotted in the background of old news reports. So Polybius could have easily been one of those. What I don't buy is the whole governmental conspiracy behind it. I mean, why would the FBI want to test a machine that makes people nauseous, not only in public, but
Because
also
the
on children?
FBI are
I mean, what
sadists!
possible benefit could they have from giving kids
They hate us and they want us
If
to
they
be
really
in
want to make
pain.
kids feel sick, all they needed to do was wait 10 years for Nintendo to invent the Virtual Boy.
True.
So despite all the promises and these fan-made interpretations, nothing resembling a Polybius
Larry
model
Bunda.
has ever surfaced. A few fan-made versions and some screenshots of dubious origin are all that exist in the digital domain. But arcade machines are physical things. So what about any physical evidence?
The FBI hates us because we haven't sold our souls to the devil.
Of course, the original story tells of the machine's sudden disappearance. But what if one unit was forgotten? What if they weren't destroyed, but
See
sequestered
Polly
in
on my
some warehouse?
BS.
What if someone found one? Well, there are some who claim they have. The videos all follow a familiar pattern.
Oh, this
A
video is
shaky
so
camera led by
cool.
rumours of Arcade Hall, to the reveal,
Look,
a dark cabinet bearing a familiar name.
it's
Some
Polybius.
even feature gameplay. Normally it's just the Rogue Synapse version, but sometimes it's something original. And then, just as things are getting interesting, what was that? Jump scare. Roll credits. Invariably, it's arcade enthusiasts showing off their
That's
custom
cute.
cabinet work and having a bit of fun in the process.
Whoa,
And
they
who can
have
blame
like
them? Polybius is an
the
essential
actual
part of arcade myth,
Polybius.
and to have your own machine is quite the talking point.
It's like a recreation
Only
of
one
it. That's
Polybius
so
cabinet
cool.
is unaccounted for.
Oh,
A
it's so
low-resolution
bright.
black and white photo that
Ugh.
appears on the killer list of video games entry for Polybius. It's a Namco-style cabinet dating from about 1979 to 1981. You can see the same style in Galaxian, Galaga, or Pac-Man examples. The black panels and T-main most strongly
We have a
suggest
video
a
game
Galaga
kink?
cabinet with the decals removed,
Oh my,
But the
should I not
sides
let you
appear to be
watch me
lighter,
play
perhaps
video
white.
games?
which means it could be the rarer Bosconian or a converted Bosconian cabinet.
Oh yeah, the
The
Mothman
controls
gets me
don't match,
going.
however, just a single button and stick.
The Mothman makes my pee-pee hard.
And the coin box isn't consistent with Namco machines of that era. It is period correct, definitely from the early 80s, but the dual steel plate style is more likely to be from a Data East or Nichibutsu machine.
Yeehaw!
So it could be a custom build, repainted and assembled from spares, or even built from scratch. There's also the very real
You know what else gets me really going? The Loch Ness Monster.
possibility that it's simply a Photoshop. The Polybius marquee could have been applied directly from the screenshot. The
Also,
low
ready things
resolution
with
and
follow.
lack of colour make detecting a fake difficult, and I suspect it's deliberate. An original photo of a custom cabinet, perhaps, but it seems altered to fit the myth.
Crush my balls with the rock, I must. Sorry, your name reminded me
It's
of
not
that.
just cabinets. Sometimes someone will claim to have a circuit board from the fabled game, such as the one featured here. If it were real, it might even be playable with the right connections, or the ROMs could be dumped and subsequently emulated.
Ooh.
It would be a very valuable find, if it were real. This is definitely an arcade PCB, but it's not Polybius. It's a bootleg Ms. Pac-Man
Yeah,
with some
I was
minor
gonna say,
photoshopping
it's very
to obfuscate its origin.
photoshopped.
It's not even enough to fool Google's reverse image search, so we can confidently ignore this particular claim. Manufacturing an arcade game is something which involves a lot of people. Engineers, programmers, artists. It's not a task undertaken solo. So, with multiple people involved, surely by now, someone would have come forward with information. Well, as it happens, there have been a few.
Oh, wait. Is this what old Reddit looked like? What? I've not seen old Reddit. What the hell? I've never seen old Reddit in my life.
Although whether they tell convincing stories is another matter. One testimony comes from an anonymous source who claims Polybius
Sega!
is associated
Sega!
with Sega's arcade division. He's known only as PRG-017.
I know I will not be believed, but still, I believe this must be told. I have information on a video game called Polybius. This game is real. I was a programmer in Sega's
Sega!
arcade division.
They play the myth straight, insisting that their secret project was designed to stimulate specific parts of the human brain, with testers suffering amnesia and loss of arcade game fandom. They then go on to explain that the Sega Genesis CD made use of Polybius code fragments in order to get the two processors syncing up. The account is
It is real,
polywritten
I
and
believe.
loose on real detail. It leans rather too heavily on the original myth, and the introduction of a link to Sega doesn't seem to make much sense. The technical details are vague, and the timeline doesn't quite match up.
Oh,
The Sega CD wasn't
wow.
released until 1991,
I don't think I've ever seen that
a
logo
decade
before.
after Polybius.
Sega CD?
Given the overly dramatic ending, unverified status, and complete lack of supporting evidence,
No!
PRG-017 is a fraud.
Darn it.
Perhaps the most prominent claimant of responsibility is a man named Stephen Roach, who, in a series of posts in early 2000,
Imagine your last name is Roach. You better have really, really good personal hygiene. And clean your hair every day.
2006, claimed to be one of the original programmers of Polybius.
I think it's about time I lay this to rest. My name is Stephen Roach. Cine Solution was a company set up by myself and several other amateur programmers in 1978.
He says he's primarily based in the Czech Republic, where he set up a company called Zines Lotion with several mainly amateur programmers that worked on component parts for PCBs, with programming as a limited but very profitable sideline. Interesting how a band of several programmers saw programming as a sideline, but anyway, he goes on to detail the beginning of Polybius.
We were approached around 1980 by a Southern American company that shall remain nameless for legal purposes, to develop an arcade game that centered around a new approach to video game graphics.
So, a Czech company that specialized in PCBs was approached by an unnamed Southern American company to develop an arcade game which would be tested in a limited North American market. Truly a global conspiracy.
Why
He goes
just
on to
Northern
explain how the side
American?
effects started happening early in playtesting, and how the resultant cover-up might have inspired the stories of Men in Black. I'll be honest, the writing smacks of impostorship. It's all recounted in run-on sentences dressed in dramatic language that wouldn't be out of place in a poorly written ghost story. And several things just don't add up. He claims to have been born in Rhyl in Wales and moved to Czechoslovakia in 1965 at the age of 15 due to his parents' business interests. An interesting proposition, given the fact that the country was under communist control at the time. He claims the Polybius name was chosen by one of his colleagues who studied Greek mythology.
Oh, okay.
But Polybius is a historical figure, not a mythological one. The majority of his ramblings are just expansions of the original myth, and what little novel detail exists.
Oh, look at these. I'm looking for the run-on sentences. Oh wow, I see it. Oh my.
Is presented without proof. I reached out to him via his email address, but received no reply. He did reply to an interview call from BitParade Co UK, however, where he answered some questions about his role in making the game. Disappointingly, much of it is copied verbatim from his original post. Perhaps he wanted to keep his story straight, or didn't want to expend too much creative effort in developing the story. He does go into more detail about the gameplay, however, describing the puzzle elements that would later influence Rogue Synapse's interpretation of the game. In Kat Despera's 2012 article, Reinvestigating Polybius, she found a possible link between Stephen Roach and the Czech Republic. Someone with that name was running a troubled teen facility in Brno. However, this Stephen Roach was originally a policeman from Utah, whereas the one associated with Polybius claims to have been born in Wales, so perhaps it's just a
They
coincident
probably
name.
just have the same name.
Everything about Stephen Roach reeked of a hoax. I had one lead left to follow. The original claims were made on a few different sites.
Last hold, you think Mr. Stephen Roach is a real guy?
But Roach was most active on the Retro Gamer forums, where there are a number of follow-up posts. The thread goes on for several pages. A few suspiciously new accounts are quite active. It seems someone might have been using sock puppets to fuel discussion. Later,
He
a
is a
moderator
Roach.
confirms that several names are posting from the same IP, and Stephen Roach is amongst them.
Stephen Roach!
Most of these accounts were created specifically for the ruse, but the oldest had been used in good faith.
Oh, okay.
I checked the post history, an introduction. I had the prankster's
You
full
need to follow.
name and an approximate location.
Ah! Oh, we're just gonna dox
A
him?
quick Google search turned up social media accounts that matched. I sent him a
Yo!
tweet and waited. I originally said that I received
Thank you
no
for the follow,
reply from Stephen
Rockstar.
Roach via email. And this was true at the time of writing, and up until a few days after I sent this tweet. As if by magic, 2.5 months after sending the original email, he finally gets back to me.
Oh,
I
okay.
was approaching the end of this project. I didn't have time for his games. I had to call his bluff.
Yeah, get him!
So I addressed him by his real name. I said, perhaps it's time to retire the Stephen Roach persona. It was a long shot, and it didn't work. He kept up the pretense. Even in the face of the evidence I had, he wasn't going to give it up. Shortly after, I received a reply on Twitter from my suspect. My original inquiry was polite, pretty straightforward, but the response was obtuse, hostile even. I wasn't going to get a confession, but by now I was fairly sure I'd found the guy responsible. Let there be no doubt, Stephen Roach is a red herring, and his story entirely fabricated.
Roach isn't even real! No! How could Stephen Roach do this
Most
to
of what
us?
we know about Polybius comes second-hand, and this lack of primary
How
evidence makes
dare
me suspicious
he
of the whole
do
thing.
this to us?
However, what we do have is primary evidence for real events that are a bit like some of the things that happened in the Polybius legend. And it's quite easy to see how this could have been embellished or misunderstood to create
Stephen
the Polybius
Roach.
story
Everyone
in these second-hand
hates
accounts
him.
as they're retold. History isn't necessarily what happened, it's what people say happened.
All my lassos hate Stephen Roach.
So, there's a lot of evidence wrapped within the Polybius myth, but not much of it is convincing. The same stories crop up time and time again, sometimes with embellishment, sometimes with new theories, but never anything that links the game to its supposed origin in the arcades. Making sense of it all and establishing the truth
Right.
is a difficult task, and I'm not the first to try. Perhaps the best way to establish Polybius' origin is to start in the present. Rather than chasing unverifiable rumours from nearly 40 years ago, instead, we can trace the evidence that exists today back to its source.
I thought he said
This trail
sauce
might
for a
not lead all
second.
the way back to 1981,
His
but wherever it
sauce?
ends might provide insight as to
I
how
don't
this
want-
story began.
His sauce?
As a starting point, we can look to Wikipedia. Its article history is transparent, and the site has been around for a while.
Yeehaw!
On February the 25th,
Thank you for following.
2005, the Polybius video game page was created.
2005. I was 1 year old.
But this isn't the first mention of the game on Wikipedia. Going back to November the 30th, 2004, the main Polybius article, the one about the historian, was amended with a section titled The Arcade Game / Hoax. Going back further, there was a short-lived edit on the 29th of February the same year that read, Polybius is also the name of a possibly fictitious video game in contemporary folklore.
You were born in 2004? Awesome, dude. You're so young.
Related to Atari's Tempest, it legendarily led to mental illness in players.
Why do you use
This is the earliest mention I could find. But what exactly prompted its Wikipedia
Light
inclusion
mode,
early in
bro.
2004?
You heard in my eyes.
The internet was young and going viral, an as yet unknown concept. But in August, Polybius was featured in Slashdot, which was a pretty big deal back in 2003.
Oh my god, I wasn't even
And
born in
it mentions an
2003.
inclusion in a recent issue of GamePro. At the time, GamePro was the world's largest independent multi-platform gaming magazine and claimed to be read by over 3 million gamers a month.
Wow!
In issue 180,
Is this Metal Gear? Is this Solid Snake?
cover date September 2003, although published some
Metal
weeks earlier,
Gear!
there was an article called Secrets and Lies. The article featured 6 gaming myths, with each assigned a verdict. True,
I was born in 2004.
false, or inconclusive. Polybius was number 6. The article expressed doubts over the game's veracity, citing a lack of evidence and the relative ease of fabrication, but it ultimately awards an inconclusive. It was this GamePro article that played an important role in propagating the Polybius myth, exposing the game to a widespread audience that might not have had access to the internet. It's not the origin of the story, but a key catalyst that transformed the game from obscure rumor to a widespread legend.
Yeah, the government.
Yeah, I think GamePro was probably a primary source for gamers to find out about Polybius. I think that writing about it in a national magazine certainly brought it to attention. And then, of course, after it appeared in GamePro, a lot of people then spread the legend and told their friends or asked other people, have you known anything about it? And probably added a lot of their own details along.
The government's fault. It's all the government's fault that I have an addiction to hentai.
Along the way, because that's how urban legends work, right?
And hard drugs.
Polybius's activity pre-GamePro was much more subdued.
Not a big fan of the government.
The game was still well known to arcade.
It's cause the fluoride. It's cause the fluoride in the water that I'm addicted to methamphetamine.
Enthusiasts. It turned up on Snopes' forums in July and had mention in a hoax roundup sometime shortly afterwards, asserting that this one is just a gag someone invented several years ago, which has now become enshrined on the web.
No, it has to be real, right?
Sometime shortly before February the 15th,
okay, this music is banging.
An article on Polybius appeared on gooddealgames.com. A familiar screenshot appears, and at some point there was also a link on the site to the April Fool's version of the Polybius executable. Most interestingly, at the bottom of the article there is a small banner with special thanks to a site.
Nah, the reason why you're not all there is because there's brain-eating amoeba in the garden hose water.
It's called coinop.org. Coinop.org is a resource for collectors and enthusiasts of arcade games. It features a fairly comprehensive database of games, along with a knowledge base populated with repair and maintenance documents.
All those Polybius searches on Row 34.
Many of these early articles. It seems they've had a page on Polybius longer than anybody else. Their description of the game is quite familiar. It seems most later articles have been based on this one. The screenshot appears here too. At the bottom of the page is a creation date. The 3rd of August, 1998.
98?
Our earliest yet.
Holy moly.
But is it verifiable?
Ancient.
The URI for this page has changed several times over its lifetime, so tracking down the first date of appearance is tricky. But with enough digging and copious use of the Wayback Machine, we can attempt to discern an origin. The current page's history only goes back to February 2014. At this point, URI rewriting rules made things more human-readable. The page prior can be tracked all the way back to 2003. Before this, the site used lengthy GUIDs, with a minor change in 2002. This URI is the oldest I could find on the coinop.org domain, which takes us all the way back to June the 21st, 2000. The entire site moved domain around this time. While it originally started on coinop.org, at some point during 1999, it was incorporated into click2.com. First as a subdomain, then later as a subdirectory.
Question, at this point in the internet's history, was there a lot of malware you could get from websites or no?
It's here where we can track the Polybius page as far back as possible. A capture exists from March the 3rd, 2000. Interestingly, the creation date of 1998 is missing, as is the screenshot. However, there is a last modified date instead, given as the 6th of February 2000, along with a note. New edition, anyone heard of this game? This seems to imply that the 6th...
Wait, YouTube used to have malware back in its days. Wait, so could you like upload a creepy video? And then like scare the out of someone?
February is the date the page was added. I mean, it says new edition.
That's so funny.
So why does the page today insist that it was created in 1998? When did the date created field first appear? A capture from April 29th, 2003 lacks the page created date. The next capture has it. This means it was added between these two dates. The date might have been recorded before this but not displayed. But another possibility is that the date created field was made later on and populated with a default value. I suspect the latter case is true, principally because almost all the other game pages share the same creation date, down to the 4 AM time.
Thank you for the follow.
It is possible that Polybius was present in the database back then, but there's absolutely no evidence for it. What we do have is a verified capture from early 2000 with a date of February the 6th and a claim of a new edition. I had nothing earlier in my timeline. This could be our origin point.
Ooh.
Day 0, the day the myth started.
Oh, wait. That's pretty old.
So how can we prove that this was the starting point? Or, more accurately, how can we disprove it? We're nowhere close to the supposed release date of 1981. So is it possible to find any earlier evidence? Anything at all? A throwaway mention, a forum post, or magazine article? Now,
yeah, I'm very tired, but I want to figure out, is Polybius real?
It's not as popular today, but Usenet was once the go-to place for news, discussion, and rumour. It's also fairly well preserved. Since 1995,
I will say if I was by myself, this video would be on 2 times speed.
They were acquired by Google. Today, Google Groups is the largest archive.
Almost everything I watch on YouTube is in 2 times speed.
Of Usenet posts, with the full Deja archive searchable, along with supplementary data that goes all the way back to 1981.
Sorry.
Its search is imperfect, but with some patience, we might get some results. A broad search for Polybius pre-2000 turns up some predictable results. It is the name of a Greek historian, after all. It is matters of history that...
Once I figured out I could use 2 times speed for literally everything, I've never gone back.
Most often come up, with the occasional reference to a Polybius cipher in cryptological.
They put the chemicals in the water that turned the freaking frogs
also
gay!
A user named Polybius, who was quite active in Alt Mag Playboy between 1997 and 1998.
Yeehaw!
Narrowing the search domain to known groups helps improve results. And one in particular is a nexus for arcade collectors. Rec Games Video Arcade Collecting, RGVAC for short. These guys are invested in arcade rarities, because if something's rare, it's valuable. So Polybius would be right up their alley. One of the first instances of the word was posted in April 2000, just a couple of months after the game first appeared.
Was this an April Fool's thing?
Posted by a user named NYMechanicalBR08, it links to coinop.org, a reply to a request for information on an obscure German video game, which triggered an association.
How do you not know this is some sort of like malware?
The OP of this particular thread is a German fellow named Christian Winter, also known as Cyber Yogi, but we'll get to him later. On the 27th of February 2000, just 3 weeks after it was first posted to coinop.org, a user named Zub posted a link on Polybius's page on click2.com. No, not the Greek historian, an arcade game, he says. I am skeptical of the claims made on the following page, but they certainly make for interesting reading. I actually spoke to Zoop. I wondered how he had found Polybius. He told me, I simply wandered across it in one of my random walks on the net. It was serendipity.
Walks on the net.
Nothing more.
Interesting.
Google Groups' search is far from perfect, so it is possible we've missed something. So what about other Usenet archives? A manual grep of the U2 Zoo Net News archive from archive.org, some 5 gigabytes of text when uncompressed, yields just 3 results, all of which refer to the historian. A discussion of the evidence for the historical Jesus from Net Religion Christian in 1985, and a passing mention in Net Politics the same year. I even tried a page search of the Usenet archive, a site that claims to be broader and more easily searchable than Google's inherited dataset.
Anything to figure out if Polybius exists.
If there's nothing within the Usenet archives, perhaps another domain entirely will prove fruitful. Perhaps there is a mention of Polybius in print. Google Books describes itself as the world's most comprehensive index of full-text books, and it is freely searchable.
I forget how bright Google is.
Searching for Polybius between the years 1980 and 2000 yields several pages of results, but every single last one of them refers to the historian. Google Newspapers is a similar story. Perhaps a more specific search is needed. Within the enthusiast press, perhaps. In the 1980s and 90s.
Wow. Look at the beautiful art. That's not AI. Awesome.
Video games were better served by magazines than any other media.
I miss when stuff looked like
nearly
this.
200 gigabytes of gaming magazines.
Even though I wasn't even born.
Issues worth for any instance of the word Polybius. There were 3 results. One from the September 1998 issue of Acorn User, a review of Ancient Greeks, a multimedia CD-ROM. Another pair from 2 adjacent issues of Commodore User, January and February 1986. Programming listings for codes and ciphers on your Commodore Micro, and an implementation of the Polybius square. That's
Interesting.
it. The only instances of the word Polybius across 20
it's
years
just
of
the
the
Polybius square.
If the Polybius myth existed prior to the year 2000, it wasn't widespread. To my knowledge, no 20th century evidence exists. It's impossible to say for certain, but with no trace of prior evidence, we can only presume coinop.org is where the story began. And whoever posted it there might be responsible for everything.
Sad. I've lost hope, Lasso.
One name I've seen frequently implicated in the Polybius myth is a German fellow named Christian Oliver Bindler, also known as Cyber Yogi, Teachmaster of Logology, the first Cyber Age religion. The denizens of Argy-Vac were quick to pin the blame for Polybius on him. He had a bit of a reputation, it seems. It does all seem to fit. He was in the right place at the right time, and his interests align. There's also the German connection with Zurich Notion.
Oh my goodness,
However,
thank you.
I believe Cyber Yogi is innocent.
Stop harassing me with this damn myth. I didn't make Polybius. Otherwise, the man in black would now go after me. I have absolutely nothing to do with it.
Thanks, hairy balls.
True, he did pull an April Fool's Day prank in 2000. He fabricated a supposedly lost East German variant of Phoenix.
Oh.
True, he was interested
That
in
looked
obscure
really
arcade
ugly.
games, particularly trance-inducing Zoner games. And true, he is a little eccentric. But why would a native German speaker use a mangled word?
Nay, bitches.
And if he didn't want to be caught, pranks in the same year? And why would he come clean about
Ass
one,
raid.
but not the other? Critically, how did he get an entry for the game on coinop.org. The coinop.org domain has been around since 1993, although the earliest page capture dates back to late 1996, approaching the limit of the Wayback Machine. Back then, the domain was home to the Virtual Coin-Op Museum, run by Stephen W. Reiner. It was a collection of photographs and articles relating to arcade machines.
Why do we have a hype train going?
However, in 1998, Stephen offered the coinop.org
I get
domain
to live.
to the users
Let's
of the
go.
RGVAC news group. He didn't have the time to maintain it, and so sought someone who could make better use of it. He ended up giving the domain to a web developer named Kurt Koller.
Kurt Koller.
By August 1998, Kurt had taken ownership of the domain and had relaunched the site as a games database. In April 1999, he moved the site to a subdomain of click2.com. And, interestingly, he mentions the addition of a German language version.
I will
In
never
early
be used to
2000, we
Lulu
see
in
another
stereo.
flurry of activity.
What do you mean?
The CoinOp site moves from a subdomain of click2.com to a subdirectory instead. It's around this time that the first evidence of Polybius emerges. By August 2000, the CoinOp site moved back to its own domain, where it's lived ever since. So, who provided the information for the site? The bulk of the games database is sourced from community-maintained lists of games, some of which are still present in coinop.org's knowledge base, and data contributed from other sites and projects, the MAME arcade emulator, for instance. Coinop.org has always had an open call for contributions, but the presented entries for games are manually curated and incorporated into the database, presumably by Kurt. He had exact control over what appeared on the site, and he's always had that control. So perhaps he received a tip about Polybius. Perhaps someone emailed him the description, and he reproduced it in good faith. Maybe, but if his intent was to maintain an accurate list of games, why would he keep the text unaltered if most of his arcade collecting peers would quickly prepare to write it off as a hoax? Why would he update the entry in 2009, promising more information? Stay tuned.
Maybe he
Information
just
which
wanted
is
the
yet to
fame
transpire.
of coming up with an urban legend.
Finally, remember the GamePro article? The one that exposed Polybius to a mainstream gaming audience and is perhaps the single largest factor in the legend's persistence today? I spoke to the author of that article, Dan Amrich, and asked him where he first found out about Polybius.
Kurt was the person who first tipped me off about Polybius. I've thought about it for a long time, and ultimately I came to the conclusion some years ago that Kurt was probably just making all of this up and pulling the wool over my eyes, and he sent it in as a tip to see if I would bite, and obviously I bit.
Okay. No! It's not
Everything
real!
pointed towards Kurt. He was behind coinop.org, and thus responsible for the earliest confirmed emergence of the myth. As an arcade enthusiast, he
There
would
is
have been
no
familiar
more
with the
hope
games
left
from
in my
Polybius's era.
heart.
In fact, he owned some of them. As a web developer, he would have had the necessary skills to forge a convincing-looking screenshot. He also had at least some familiarity with the German language, but he wasn't fluent, hence Sinneslotion. He's no stranger to internet fame either. He's the one behind the
How
Taco
dare
Bell $2 bill
Kurt.
refusal story
Fuck
under the
you,
Usenet
Kurt.
pseudonym Captain Sarcastic. Finally, he had a motive. He wanted to drive traffic to coinop.org. And when he sent a tip-off to GamePro magazine, it paid off and immortalized the legend.
How dare Kurt.
In any case, to uncover the truth, I was going to have to speak to him. So I emailed him, asked if he'd answer a few questions. He said, sure. I asked him directly, were you responsible for the game's addition to the site? If not, who was the source? Where did the screenshot come from? His answers weren't helpful. He insisted the game was present on the site since day one,
I don't believe
3rd
this
of
Kurt
August
guy.
1998. despite the contradicting evidence. He went on, the entry's wording on coinop.org is very specific. That's all I'm allowed to comment on. I didn't expect a confession, but it was clear he wasn't going to let me ruin his fun without some resistance.
True, I wouldn't let
By this point, I was almost
someone
certain he was
ruin one of
behind
the
Polybius
coolest
myth.
urban
He
legends
was, at the
ever.
very least, complicit. So he was definitely hiding something.
Damn, Kurt.
But what did he mean by very specific wording? My mind was cast back to the connection between Polybius and cryptology. The Polybius square. Could the very specific wording of the Polybius entry be hiding something? A coded message? At this point, I'm not even sure. It could just be me reading between the lines, a wild goose chase. But I suppose it's worth a try. Rereading the text, I noticed some unusual things. The writing is odd, with rather too many commas, and some peculiar wording choices. There's also a spelling mistake, disappeared with a missing E, which is not necessarily unusual, but it has gone untouched for 17 years. Maybe he never noticed it, but he did notice a spelling mistake on the Polybius Wikipedia article.
Existent.
There's an edit by a Kurt S. Koller made on the 27th of October 2005, where he corrects the spelling of non-existent. So maybe the spelling is intentional. But what does that mean?
What does it
Perhaps
mean?
word
The
length is a
numbers!
factor. Perhaps his code needed a 10-letter word and nothing else would fit. Despite my suspicions, my attempts to decipher a message that may or may not exist were fruitless.
No.
Besides, code breaking was outside the scope of my intention. We already had an origin.
The
and we had a
numbers!
likely
What do
suspect.
they mean? Nothing.
Maybe I was hoping for something more.
Absolutely nothing.
During my search for Polybius' origin, I had seen numerous claims that the myth first emerged on Usenet in 1994, but I never saw any direct evidence for this. However, there is one thing which definitely emerged on Usenet in 1994. A puzzle
What
that
the
has a
hell is
startlingly
that?
similar name. It's called the Publius Enigma.
Publius
Anonymous
Enigma.
claims of a hidden meaning within Pink Floyd's The Division Bell album. On alt music Pink Floyd, an anonymous source emerged with cryptic clues. Few believed it at first, but when the words Enigma Publius appeared in lights at a Pink Floyd concert,
Okay.
well, clearly there was something to it.
We may be getting
to this
somewhere.
day, the Publius Enigma remains unsolved.
What?
No
Never
hidden
mind.
message was ever found. The parallels could be a coincidence, but I know Kurt was active on Usenet at the time, so it's fairly likely he was familiar with the
Don't
story.
get me all excited.
Perhaps this might be part of the inspiration behind the Polybius myth.
Oh, it could be an anagram.
There was
you're
no
right.
shortage of ideas for the avid prankster in the late 90s. Government conspiracies were en vogue due to the popularity of the X-Files. Couple this paranoia with the emergence of an exciting new digital frontier. The internet was a fertile ground for ideas to spread, a critical mass of gullibility. One hoax that gained traction around this time was the Pacific Northwest tree octopus.
What?
Proof that people will even believe stories of arbor-bound cephalopods if you tell it earnestly enough. This emerged at around the same time
Tree
Kurt was working on
octopus.
coinoff.org, and again, maybe part of the inspiration for
You're
Polybius,
follow.
particularly the link to Portland. For as long as there have been internet hoaxes, there have been those who attempt to debunk them.
Who believes
Snopes
in a
being
tree
perhaps
octopus?
the most famous example. The site was born out of the alt folklore urban newsgroup, and while you won't find any trace of the Polybius myth there is some discussion given to video game related urban legends. Some of them are quite familiar. We can even see hints of proto-myths which might have helped form Polybius. One legend states that if you're able to attain a particularly impressive high score, government agents, FBI, CIA or similar, would seek you out. Why? Who knows? Recruitment, perhaps.
Is there a Polybius
This is
Reddit
strikingly
thread?
similar to the plot of The Last Starfighter, in which a teenage boy is contacted by aliens in desperate need of a savior with his shoot-'em-up skills. Maybe the myth inspired the film, or vice versa.
I haven't seen this film.
The link between the FBI and arcades is further strengthened by the Winners Don't Use Drugs campaign that appeared in all North American arcade games
Oh, is
between
this like a
1989 and
PSA?
2000. Quite how effective the anti-drug message was is not for me to say.
Didn't back in the day, there was so much anti-drug propaganda, right? Hi, Cool Reaper. Thank you for the follow. I mean, they're not wrong. You shouldn't use drugs because it will destroy your life. What is Dare? I think Dare is a little bit too old for me. I'm pretty young. I'm like 21, so Dare was like in the 90s, right? Yeah, Dare was 90s. Funny how same messaging most of the wrestlers were roided out. Yeah. It's cuz they were paid to.
But the FBI seal is
Or
imprinted on
forced
the
to.
memory of
Probably
every
paid
arcade
to.
goer from that time. There's also the very real possibility that the myths were inspired by real FBI involvement in the arcades.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Between bootleg machines,
Interesting.
drugs, and illegal gambling, it's entirely plausible that the Men in Black did raid the occasional arcade, or seize the odd arcade machine. However, it's far less likely that there was a coordinated plan to control the minds of gamers in arcades.
Hold on. Why is MK Ultra coming up here?
Although the CIA did conduct mind control experiments with its MK Ultra program. It was really more of a test of the utility of psychoactive drugs in combat and interrogation.
Question, was MK Ultra a real thing?
Long fodder for conspiracy nuts, but its lack of success is well documented. The government
I've
has
definitely
dabbled
heard
in
about
using
it.
video games as training aids.
Yeah?
Atari's Battlezone, for instance, and even Doom.
Oh, this game looks cool.
But a full-on
Dude!
mind control conspiracy? That's a pretty far-out theory.
I'm gonna MK Ultra you right now. Woo! You'll follow the Gyaru cowgirl who's named Lululasso. Woo! You'll give her a kiss. Woo! Are you MK Ultra?
I think that the idea of the government having its act together to the point where they could put in an arcade game in a town and use it to neurolinguistically program or otherwise brainwash the populace is a pretty scary one, just due to the fact that when I was a kid, literally every politician that I could think of was terribly frightened by video games. So the thought that the government would understand technology and be able to use that against the rest of us, I think is inherently creepy, inherently cool.
Another film with shades of Polybius is The Bishop of Battle from 1983 film Nightmares.
Nightmares.
A reflection of
Haven't
the
seen
feared
this one
potential
either.
harm of arcades, as a hyper-addictive game gradually takes control of a boy's life as he attempts
Oh, I bet the parents were eating this movie up. They're like, see kids, this is what happens when you play too much video games. Too much of them dang video games.
to beat the mysterious 13th level. The rapid rise in the popularity of arcades, particularly with children, caused a bit of a moral panic in the early 80s.
A
Most
video
concerns
game
were
panic.
relatively unfounded. The kids were there to play video games, not for drugs or gambling. But even so, the pursuit of high scores through marathon play sessions could prove deleterious. In In 1981,
Depends on what kind of
Ryan
game.
Morrow of Beaverton, Portland, suffered stomach discomfort after 28 hours of shooting for an asteroids record. It wasn't the video game that caused it, but a heady mix of sleep deprivation with a cocktail of caffeine and sugar. The odd headache and upset stomach aside, it's difficult to find evidence of any serious injury that has come from video games. However, there was an arcade-related death reported in 1982. Peter Bukowski of South Holland, Illinois, was playing Berserk when he collapsed. It was a pre-existing heart condition, possibly aggravated by stress. But for some, it was evidence that an arcade game could directly cause harm. One
That looked like
very
a
real
cool
risk
game.
that video games can pose is photosensitive epilepsy.
Mm.
To those who are sensitive, flashing images or patterns...
I do remember there was this one Pokemon episode that caused children to have epileptic seizures. I don't remember the name of the Pokemon. It was some Polygon one. But... Porygon! Porygon, yeah, Porygon. That's so scary. Imagine you're just with your kid and they just start having a seizure while watching Pokemon.
can trigger a seizure.
Honestly, that's not too
In
bad.
the earliest days of the arcades, this wasn't...
Okay, seizure warning. As we were talking about seizure. Hopefully none of you have seizure-induced... Well, flash-induced seizures.
commonly understood.
Oh,
and so
my
some
eyes.
flashing effects could be pretty
Holy
intense.
moly!
Couple that with a darkened room, long play sessions. Despite not being particularly common,
Oh my...
If any-
Oh. I'm so glad I don't have seizures.
actually someone's going to have a seizure. The first reported case of a video game triggering such a seizure was in 1981. Astro Fighter was one game implicated around this time.
Yeehaw!
Today, you can see the lasting effects of these concerns.
Was it because of the
Flashing
way it
effects are
sounds?
rare, and in every manual for every game,
Yeehaw!
you'll find the same boilerplate disclaimer.
Oh, sure. Back in the 90s, an episode of Pokemon appeared on Japanese television that caused seizures and sent
I
700
was
kids
just
to the
talking
hospital.
about this.
And-
700? I didn't know. 700. 700 children. I didn't know it was that many. Wait, did anyone die? Nintendo said, fuck them kids, and fuck you too. Unsay so to me, I'm sorry. I'll stop swearing.
That was just at 30 frames per second. Imagine what you could do
I'll be your unmarried unsay so Nimmy.
with a game at 50 or 60. I bet there were some Atari games that gave susceptible kids a not-so-happy Christmas. I watched that banned footage. It made me feel weird.
The motif of harmful sensation is a recurring theme in fiction, particularly in horror. The idea that something can
Oh
hurt
my
you
goodness, it's the cock monster. Wait, which mythological monster is this?
just by observing it. From Medusa to
Medusa!
the Basilisk, the Ring, Polybius. A long line of legends.
The
Sometimes
cockatrice?
they're even
Is
self-propagating.
that what its actual
like chain
name
letters,
is?
or "you have been spooked" memes. It's a huge cliche, but somehow the notion that you shouldn't look compels us all the more.
Thank you for the follow.
Culture is full of repeating patterns, and as Polybius took inspiration, it too has influenced others. It makes frequent cameos, seen in the background of The Simpsons, The Goldbergs,
Oh, really?
Batman Inc. The Llamasoft version is a central focus in the Less Than video by Nine Inch Nails. We love to tell stories that send shivers down spines. And with usual cynicism suspended, the internet has brought a new dimension to horror. Creepypasta is the latest face in a long
Ben
line
drowned!
of folklore,
Oh.
and quite a few
I don't
focus
think
on
that's
video
what
games.
happened to Ben.
I mean, even Polybius itself fits the description.
Holy sh**.
There's a whole parade.
Is that what Legend of Zelda is like? I've never played.
A fictional game
Hi,
with
Ender.
a dark secret. The tale of a haunted Zelda cartridge told in Ben Drowned. A forbidden game from the dark web in Sad Satan.
Oh, I watched so many videos on Sad Satan.
And the supposedly lost PlayStation title, Petscop. It's a form of horror with mainstream appeal.
Hero Bride. Now this was my time.
The popularity of Minecraft's Herobrine, Slenderman, or Five Nights at Freddy's. It seems we have a hardwired attraction to mystery. A desire to cast light on
Sad Satan? Oh my goodness. Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's! Anyway, Sad Satan was... I think it was just a fake game, right? Don't speak his name. Sad... Satan.
fears and on what might lurk in the shadows.
Ah! Funny! It was a game that you could download and it was pretty creepy. I would say it's one of the creepier games, but there was a version that is illegal, I think. And you probably know what I'm talking about when I say illegal.
Gaming is full of secrets.
What's
and
in the
a social
game?
setting like an arcade, they can spread like wildfire. Rumors about hidden screens, secret characters, and levels abound. Most were gated behind skill demands.
Why are their heads
difficult
so
to
big?
execute, and so nearly impossible to verify. It was easy to believe such secrets existed. And to a younger observer, witnessing an arcade technician accessing the diagnostic menus must have been mind-blowing. Hidden options behind lock and key, cryptic messages on screen, such as the special function seen within the Defender service options. It's no wonder that teen imagination ran riot with possibility. So what does that special function do? It exits the diagnostic menu and returns to the game. That's it. Invariably, when you cast a light on things, they turn out to be mundane. But the sounds and the experience of the arcades
Is that this whole
were a
thing?
lot to take in. With each play costing a coin, most of us could only scratch the surface. Some games relegated to a fleeting glimpse, lost to memory. The human mind is an unreliable thing when it comes to recollection. And when we hear stories like Polybius, the mind scrambles to make connections. Somewhere, somehow. Maybe this is why some people swear they remember. Perhaps a lost memory triggered, the details hazy.
Or it's a
must have
glitch
been,
in the Matrix, guys.
Simitrix Cube Quest from 1983 would have left quite an
If you see a weird tab that's green and it says Rule 34 when I'm on my browser, it's just a glitch in the Matrix, guys.
impression for anyone who saw it.
That
Its
didn't
hypnotic
happen.
visuals and Tempest-style gameplay were unlike anything else of the era. However, it was an expensive cabinet, and probably more expensive per play to recoup costs. And Laserdisc games were notoriously unreliable. It's entirely possible such machines would disappear silently and without trace, not for conspiracy's sake, but for simple profitability.
You're welcome, bro. Next time, just keep that in mind, okay?
There are plenty of rarities out there that went uncatalogued for a long time. Take the East German Polyplay from 1985, for instance. Polyplay has been implicated in the Polybius myth. The name is similar, after all, and even the stylized P on the cabinet bears a similarity to Polybius's logo.
Oh, it does.
Previously forgotten, one example appeared at Berlin's Computerspiel Museum around 1998, just prior to the emergence of Polybius. There were 1,000 or so units made. They were found in swimming pools, leisure centres, all over. But when the Berlin Wall fell, the machines were recalled and destroyed.
Oh.
Just a few remain.
Wonder
Perhaps
why.
a government cover-up. Or maybe just an attempt to recover state-owned assets for profit.
Reminds me of
Who knows?
Faith.
Not every machine was as successful as Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, or Galaga. There are countless games long forgotten.
Beep, beep, beep.
Obscurities, bootlegs,
Uncle
and prototypes
Pooh!
of no interest to anyone but collectors.
Who's Uncle and why is he a
Not every game was
pooin'?
catalogued, not every ROM dumped. And with the patent,
It's the whole thing. Is he just That's the whole game, is he's just
passage of time and the destruction of cabinets, some may even be lost. It's a worrying void of uncertainty.
What an
if
awesome
a game
game.
called Polybius did exist after all? It
What
could
if
be real.
What if a bomb dropped on our head right
Like
now?
Russell's teapot, it's impossible to entirely disprove its existence. But the burden of proof lies with those telling the story. With absolutely no evidence that predates the original story, it's safe to assume that it's just a myth.
No!
But from this melange of arcade mystery,
It's really cool, myth.
a myth like Polybius was almost inevitable.
Hold on. What do you mean there's an SNES game where you fart and burped on enemies? Who made that? Who made that? Ew.
And so, as the internet came of age, that's how it began.
Wait, it's called
A man
Booger Man?
inspired, saw opportunity.
Ew. What, did they think, were they trying to market to young boys? It's like, a lot of the toys that I saw that were made in like Toys R Us or Walmart, they would have a girl version, which would be like very cute, very clean, and then they have a boy version where they try to market to boys, and it's all like trashy and goopy and gross. I don't get it. Yeah, like the Garbage Pail Kids.
And hatched a plan. A sprinkling of detail, touch of paranoid nerve, and a mysterious screenshot, and you're ready to serve. It wasn't enough for collectors well seasoned. Most were quite cynical, and with good reason. As the tale almost stalled, a new trick was needed. A magazine tip-off ensured exposure was seeded.
I'm sorry, I don't get it. I'm not a boy.
Curious waves of the gullible inbound.
At
By
me.
now, the story was
I'm
simply
pretty gullible.
too big to kill. Inscribed in folklore,
Look!
echoed
It
in
says-
forum posts still.
It says gullible on the ceiling. I'm trying to look up.
An in-joke for arcade fans of spooky illusion. And for low-effort listicles, an essential inclusion. An indelible myth, but at least we know the deal. Polybius never existed, but the legend is real.
Wow, that was a good video.
Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.
That was definitely worth wasting an hour of my life on.